How's it going, guys? Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Phil Talk Sports. We have a cooler of beer, and Luke is with me, so that must mean it's time to review another sports movie.
Absolutely.
I appreciate all the feedback on the Friday Night Lights series reviews, parts 1 and 2. Got a lot of good feedback, especially from the Facebook group of Friday Night Lights fans, so thank you guys for that. Episode 2, I guess technically 3, but this will be a one-parter. We are doing Disney's Invincible, starring Mark Wahlberg. And I have a lot of – this is probably the only time we'll ever do a movie that I'm going to have personal experiences of. So before we get into that, we'll start off with Luke. This was actually your idea. You would think I'd be the one suggesting this, but this was actually his choice for our second movie. So overall, this story is completely foreign to you. As an Eagles fan, prior to the movie, I had heard about Vince Papale and I knew the legend of him, but being a whole new story for you, how did this strike you?
When I first saw it, I think it was out in theaters in 2008 or maybe 09, something
right around
there. Or 06, late 2000s. But at the time I was interested in trying out for football for high school. I was coming up. We were in late middle school, and so I was just really into it at the time, which it did not pan out. But it was just one of those movies. I was like, oh, I got to see this, and it was really good. But I didn't have any personal feelings for the Eagles, to be honest.
Sure.
But it was nice getting to see some history on screen, basically.
As we go through this series, we're going to have a lot of Friday Night Lights. As much as we loved it, that is a completely fictional story, whereas this is, for the most part, a factual story. So it is one of those movies that we will go down the line, and I'll be able to tell us what was factual, what was a little. It's a lot more. I'd say it's 90% truthful. Okay. But the 10%,
because I wasn't entirely sure. I'm not great with that stuff.
But the 10% that they Disney up is kind of huge. But I feel like that's how Disney does their shit anyway. Yeah. So one thing right off the bat, this is the only time, and the fact it is a true story. Sometimes the truth is better than fiction. Could you ever think of a time other than a kicker? Because there is a handful of movies about kickers. Could you think of a full movie being made on a special teamer, like a guy who predominantly plays special teams?
No.
If you're in Hollywood and they're like, make me a sports movie about a special teamer, just a guy that covers kicks and punts.
Usually the QB or,
or the team as a whole or the coach, as we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the fact that this is a true story and they were able to make a compelling and really kind of heartwarming story about a special teams player is pretty awesome. For those on YouTube can see I'm wearing the Invincible Who's Nuts t-shirt, and there's a little story behind this. This is a reimagined version. The real one, which I'll put a picture of now, has a picture of the Eagles logo on it. This is a remake, so we couldn't have that on there. But when Vince Papale eventually became captain of the special teams, he would wear a shirt very similar to this under his pads and jersey. And once he became captain, he started awarding the shirts after every game to the special teams player with the biggest hit. So it was just kind of a rallying cry of, who's nuts? I'm nuts because I'm about to fly down on this field and cream somebody. So I think in some of the pictures in the credits, you'll see him in the shirt. Again, where the 83 is on this one is where the Eagle logo would be. But other than that, it's essentially the same shirt. And I have this because, and I'll put this picture up here in a second, in 2012 or 13, I actually had the honor of meeting Vince Papale at Famous Phillies in Port Orange.
I did not know this.
Yes, so this is it was pretty crazy. It was 2012 or 2013, out of high school. I was actually gearing up for my first season of flag football in college, intramural, all that stuff. And during the football season, he came out, signed a bunch of autographs. I have one that I might pop up here in a minute. And because of that, a week later, I had to pick my jersey number. And I'm like, well, I got to pick 83 now, right? And I've had 83 on every jersey I've worn post-high school since then. And funny enough, even before that, I tend to always stick with 3 anyway. I don't know why. It just always stuck with me. But, no, 83, I've played soccer. I've played football. I've played everything, in between. And, I've always had 83 since. It just seems to stick because the players even in the NFL that wear 83 all tend to have this style of, not the star, no star receiver wears 83. It's always the hardworking guy. The closest would be Wes Welker on the Patriots, but even him, that's someone who had to do everything. So he definitely had, an impact on me, and it's the reason I wear the number when I do play sports. And I was, when I got in line and got my autographs, I let him know. I was like, hey, I'm actually going to start wearing 83 because of you, like after I've heard the story and such. And I thought he was just kind of like, oh, that's cool. I didn't realize he really took it in because I'll try to do this as smoothly as I can. Not that you'll be able to read this, but on the autograph picture that I have, it says from 183 to another. So I thought that was pretty cool that he was able to do that. So again, this might be the only sports movie that I have a personal experience with, but I felt like it was a unique story that I needed to share.
That's amazing,
Yeah.
honestly.
And let me tell you, this guy was putting down Coronas at this autograph signing.
Where in Port Orange was this?
So famous Phillies. If when you're on US 1 about to merge into Nova, if you don't live in this area, we'll make this quick. But yeah, it's a chicken place now, sadly. But it's okay. It used to be the one. It was a green building. He's since had a place in New Smyrna that I went to the eve of the Super Bowl that the Eagles won, and then he has since moved across from Daytona State College.
How old is he now?
Huh?
How old is he now?
Papale's like 73, I think. I looked it up earlier. Because, again, this movie, great segue, takes place in the 70s.
Yeah, I think it starts with the winter of 75, and then it cuts to 6 months later, the summer of 76.
Right.
Right before he decides to try out.
Right. So, as you said, the movie starts in the last regular season game of the 75 season when the team is coached by Mike McCormick, and
I think they said they had 3 wins the entire season.
That's one of the few. I don't know why they
bothered.
If
that was real or not.
I don't know why they bothered to lie about this, but yeah, his one buddy, screams, "Hey, coach, thanks for the 3 wins. You're a bum." They had 4 wins that year. I don't know why I guess 3 sounded worse, and it made it better for the movie.
It's like I don't know all the historical facts, so that's why I rely on you a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I was like, okay, as I watch it, I'm just gonna take it all for fact, and then I'll check with you after.
I mean, if he said, "Hey, coach, thanks for the 4 wins, you're a bum," I don't think it changes. Like, we get it, he's a bum. Like, I get what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
But they are losing in a snowy, debacle, 31-0 to the Bengals. Yeah. That's kind of where the movie starts, is just kind of, diehard Philly fans. You kind of get the lay of the land in the opening, like establishing shots of like the factories in the area are on strike. It's not a great city to be living in. And then you kind of move into, I guess, what's known back in the day, known as a rough touch adult football league, because it's like tackle, but also like if you get shoved to the rules are a little laxed, I guess, but like
if you get run over a car, or if you go soaring over a car,
then you're
no
down,
big deal,
I guess. The thing that got me, I thought it was just like, because we've played like park football growing up and even like around like Turkey Bowl stuff or whatever. But this was an official league that had like referees, which I always thought was funny.
A guy there who was blowing like a little toy whistle. It sounded like. And
it appears that like each team is like based on the bar that you drink at, so they all represent.
Oh shit! I didn't notice.
They all represent Max's bar, which is why the owner plays there, and Vince at the time is a substitute teacher, and he is a bartender a couple nights a week. And so the first game, they do a weird thing. They show off how like clearly better Vince is than everybody. But from what I gathered, they were still losing that game like by a lot.
He seems to always step in when they're getting creamed.
Yeah.
Because I think they do 2 games there, or maybe 3.
Yeah.
And he comes in and they're like, all right, let's do the play where Vince runs past everyone.
Great line.
But even then, it's like if it's already too late into the game.
Yeah.
But exactly. They weren't winning. Like it's kind of like he's holding everyone up.
Right.
Puts the team on his back.
Yeah. So then he gets home to a wife of I think 5 years. You find out who's not happy that he was out playing games, as she put it. He's like, we're out of work and you're out playing games, and
he's subbing like 2 days a week, she said,
and tending bar. Which I mean, depending on how much you tend bar, that is a decent job in the 70s. It's not like it is today.
Well, yeah.
Like but, people can make a living doing that, and even now. So I don't know how often he was doing it back then, but she's not very happy. He goes into work as a substitute teacher. Comes to find out that his services are no longer needed. And as someone who works in the school system, that is something that happens.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, he was probably – I don't know how it is for other states or other counties, especially back in the 70s, but how it is nowadays is basically it's like a freelance job. You just – because I did it for 5 years for Volusia County. You pick up whatever you can at any school that you can until you find a school that knows you well enough that will put you on as a preferred sub if you're doing the job right. So I would assume if the rules were exactly the same, he was a preferred sub, and they were like, well,
And
we don't really need you anymore.
I feel that is true because when he walks in the class that he thinks he's supposed to sub, kids even like, hey, Mr. Papale, like they throw that in there just to let you know he is liked by the kids.
He's got rapport.
Yeah, he's not just like an outsider, like, oh, I'm at this school randomly.
Right.
So then he goes, that night he's subbing at the bar, and he's like, hey, if I can, what'd I say? Subbing at the bar. Yeah. Attending at the bar, and he says, hey, I kind of need some more hours. He's like, well, I got my cousin coming to work here soon, but other than that, any other hours you want is yours. He gets home that night to find out. Actually, I think this is around the time they got the sports channel on the news. I love how they use the sports channel in this movie to really like push the story along.
Oh yeah, it's its own narrative.
Yes,
and it really helps propel the story.
And they mentioned Dick Vermeil being hired as the Eagles head coach because after the 4 wins, not 3 from last year, that coach is no longer there. Dick Vermeil coming off a huge Rose Bowl win. He was coaching UCLA at the time. He beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, who at the time was ranked number 1 in the country. So big upset. He in only his second year at UCLA, who is not typically – they're more of a basketball school. They're not typically that great at football. So he's probably one of the best years they ever had, coached by him. And Dick Vermeil is my favorite person that's been a coach in my professional watching life, and I'll explain why later. I'm trying to remember who he's played by. The House of Cards guy.
Greg Kinnear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
he's got this fucking wig on.
Oh, that
the
wig,
entire
man.
movie. And they even make fun of his hair at one point because it's like a Californian kind of surfer hair.
And now he's coming to Philly.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it just does not fit. But it definitely does not fit Greg Kinnear.
No. But I think he does a great job. I mean, obviously
he did a great job, yeah.
I think not knowing how Dick Vermeil really is, he does a great job. And then knowing how Dick Vermeil is, if you're an actual, like a football fan that would know, like he nails the Dick Vermeil personality very well too. So he kind of doubles up.
Even physically with the wig and all that, looks like him when they show the footage. Or
at the end, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, okay, it does look like him.
And that being said, like Mark Wahlberg, like, one, you want him in the movie because like people are going to go see the next Mark Wahlberg movie anyway, but he looks decently enough like Vince in his younger years.
Yeah, I mean, like I've only seen Vince in the footage that was shown at the end, I'll admit. But yeah, it does look pretty similar.
He's like a pretty boy version of him, but it at least looks like,
right. Yeah.
It's not like The Rock played him or something, like this is obviously before The Rock was super, super big or whatever. But yeah, so they mentioned that they're going to have an open tryout for, anyone that wants to come try out for the Eagles. And this might be the part that people would think was a little fabricated. No, this really happened. They really let any bum show up.
I mean, I'm not sure. You could probably tell me how many losing seasons did they have leading up to that? Where they were just desperate at that point.
So I think by the time Dick Vermeil turns them around to have a winning season, they had gone 10 years without one. So they're probably 7-8 years into that losing streak.
That's another thing too. Was the year that they all kind of got together. Dick Vermeil and Papale.
That'd have been 76.
Right. Was that a winning season?
The first year was not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it was an improvement, but it was not a winning season.
Okay. So they had a few building years.
But I guess to give you the timetable, 76 was his first season. They don't win the Super Bowl, but they go to the Super Bowl in 1980. So they have 4 years of rapid incline.
Right.
Is the timetable really here? So yeah, you see the whole, hey, the Eagles are trying out, and everyone's like immediately like, Vince, you got to go, and he's like, well, he doesn't
one year of high school ball. And
yeah. Interestingly enough, he did not play in high school. He did not play in college. Obviously, he was, however, he did go to college, and he was a track and field athlete.
Oh, okay.
So he does have, which explains his speed that we find out about later in the movie.
Yeah, okay. He got what, a 4.5?
4.5, which now is like regular fast, but back then is like he's probably like a top 10 speed guy in the 70s. But so it takes a lot of convincing to get him to go down there.
Oh, well, they're all writing him. Actually, what seemed to convince him was his dad saying, a man can only take so much failure.
Which, I was,
so it was almost like a backhanded thing,
it was like reverse psychology, I think, even too.
Right. And well, the thing is, he mentions it later when he talks to him out on the front doorstep, and he's like, when I said that, it was more for me.
Yeah.
Or something along
he
those
says,
lines. He was like,
when I said don't get your hopes up, I was really talking to myself or something like that.
Yeah.
But the thing that got me, because, that conversation happens because After rewatching this movie, I thought his dad really only had that one big scene. You know, man can only take so much failure. That's actually one of the biggest lines in the movie.
Yeah.
Because again, his wife left him, lost his job. He doesn't really want him to, and then you chase his dream that goes nowhere. So like, it's not that the dad was unsupportive. I think he was just being a realist. You know?
Oh yeah. No, honestly, I don't blame him. I mean, at that point, he's looking to his dad for rent money.
Yeah.
And they which don't, was only $100 at the time.
And when they sit at the table, you get the vibe that like they're not super close. Like they don't have any animosity, but they don't seem like a really tight father and son.
He doesn't visit often or anything like that.
No.
His dad, if anything, is closer with his friend because they both work at the same factory.
Yeah.
And they've bonded a bit more. But you never actually see them like. Oh wait, no, you do see them interact later on.
Yeah.
At the bar. I forgot his friend's name. Is Sal?
Well, there's Tom. He's like that's core friends.
One who comes to like jump his car later on.
Oh, geez, I'm gonna have to look that up in a second. But I know the one friend that's kind of the pessimist is Tommy.
Not him for sure, but yeah, he's an asshole.
Yeah, he says, yeah, go down there. Your old lady ain't gonna stop you.
Yeah, and they just fucking kick him out of the bar, like go home.
Yeah,
but I mean, it just shows like the whole, there's a lot of problems that are going on in society, specifically the city, that community, and at that moment. And so one of the greatest themes of the movie, in my opinion, is the impact that sport has on people, or the impact that sport has on society and
communities.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Because what's going on is a lot of these people are out of a job. Tommy's out of a job. His other friend is out of a job. His dad is pretty much, they're all thinking of going.
They're all on strike. I think they're on strike by the middle of the movie.
Right. So it's just like it's really going bad for everyone else. And he is their like beacon of hope. Now they know him personally, but the thing is, everyone in the city feels like they know Vince because he's somebody from home.
Right.
It's the same thing with someone from New Smyrna goes off to the NFL. Raheem, I'm talking about you.
Yep.
It's
and now Darrington Evans also. We got two in there now.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's just something that is really uplifting for the people in the community, and we really need it. It goes a long way. And so, yeah, that's probably for me the biggest thing of the entire movie was the impact that sport has on community. Society.
Yeah.
It's hope. It provides. I mean, he says this. He's like 8 beers deep and all that. And he's like, I really think you should go. And then he says something later on about like.
I think you set me up perfectly for where I was going there. Like his dad with the reverse psychology backhanded thing. I think that helped, but like the friend that I would have been in that situation is. When he says like, it's like fine, you don't think you're gonna make the team, whatever, but like you're going down to Veterans Stadium and you get to run around on that field. Like even if you're down there for an hour, you're down there.
Exactly.
Like if the Buccaneers had open tryouts, like I would go just for them to kick me out 10 minutes later. Right? Like why wouldn't you?
And once he makes it. Actually, he goes into the training camp and all that, but then there's all the cuts and stuff, and he makes it past all the cuts. And at one point, he's outside, and his friend comes to jump his car, and he's just leaning against the car, kind of laughing and all that. And he's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And he asks him for a second, "How are things going?" And he says, "Better now."
He says,
"Shit has been down for a while, but this made him feel better." Like,
he says, "I'm good now."
I'm good now.
It doesn't really matter.
All the other shit just kind of goes away because again, it's sport is created hope, So.
And so I also love not to skip past the tryout scene because it's hilarious.
Oh yeah,
hilarious scene.
Fly Eagles, fly.
And you got the guy, the epitome of out of shape. He's wearing a cape he has a beer in the line to go to the tryout.
I think they all did. There was like a whole group that had these cans.
I don't know why I imagined it as like a sandwich in his hand, and then when I went back, it is a beer. It is a bagged up beer.
Back in the day, it seemed like a sandwich, but maybe that was just middle school innocence, or
maybe. But he does. It's the best. He goes. Wade Keller, I think, is the made-up sports guy they use, right? That's again, he's kind of in a way, a narrator throughout the movie. But he's like, what makes you think you have a chance? And he goes, well, Wade, 2 years of varsity football.
You go
varsity. I'm 28 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life. And he's, couldn't fit through the door.
Right. And he's wearing a fucking cape.
Yeah. And you continually see him failing at every conceivable drill.
And you almost, I'll admit, I kind of was like, oh, what a jackass and everything. And then at the end when they cut everyone and you see him walking away with his cape and all that, and he's just kind of looking down, I was like, damn, now I feel bad.
See, but that's the guy that should have had the mentality of, I get to go run around on Veterans Stadium for an hour. Like that.
Yeah, you get to be there.
Yeah. And
you're down there.
And he goes, Vince is, he's in the 40-yard dash line. and he gets the 4.5, like you said, and everybody else, 5'7", 5'9", 6'2", I think one guy gets, which would have been me.
It's like, do they know that they're supposed to be running?
Yeah, great line. And then Vince blows through everyone and gets a 4.5, and they kind of just turn the watches to Vermeil, and he goes, throw him a few. Because it's like, I don't care if you're fast if you can't catch.
If you can't catch.
So, and he's mossing everybody, and, Mark Wahlberg's looking like a star. I mean, this must have been, like, the most fun part for him. Because, like, all the extras have to make him look like a beast.
He one-hands one of them.
Oh, yeah, he mosses it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. And, yeah, so
that's probably one of the best scenes of the movie.
Yeah, him just dominating at the tryout.
It's cool, like, you're like, all right, he's going somewhere with this.
And then they kind of blow a whistle on practice, and they're like, all right, we have everyone's information. We'll give you a call if we want you, kind of thing. And
no, he didn't even say that. He was like, all right, go home, gentlemen.
Yeah. And
we're done today.
And everybody's like, oh, wait, what now? But Mark, I'm going to go back and forth calling him Mark and Vince, I think. I can already tell.
That's completely fine.
But Vince he just kind of like, he just starts walking to his car.
He's already he already accepted defeat.
Yeah. He was like, all right, I was down here for my hour. I'm going to go back to trying to put my life together, I guess. And he gets in his car, and it won't start, which posed the question, what if his car just started?
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking the same damn thing as I watched the movie. I was like, all right, but if he got in the car and left, Vermeil didn't get there in time. He just happened to. Thank God the car stopped.
I assume you filled out some sort of form, like with your contact information on it.
But it was also the 70s.
I know.
Nowadays, yeah, there would be a form and probably a fucking waiver and everything like that. There'd be all this shit. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't born in the 70s, but I just feel like people kind of just showed up and they were like, all right, you're up. Give us your name. That's about it.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a funny, thing to think about. It's like, what if that didn't happen? And he gets out there, and it's important to note for this joke, because not everyone would have maybe gotten this. Dick Vermeil gets the job at like 40, which at the time was young for an NFL coach, like a head coach anyway. And Vince is 31 at the time. So he's too old to be a player, and Dick Vermeil is too young to be an NFL head coach. And so when he gets to his car and he's talking to him, he's like, where'd you play college ball? I didn't play college ball. And he goes, Vince, do you mind if I ask how old you are? And he goes, no, I don't mind. Do you mind if I ask you how old you are? Because it's kind of, they're getting it from both ends. They're burning it from both ends. So it was a nice little dig. This is a nitpick. In the movie, he invites him to training camp right there on the spot in the parking lot. In real life, they invite him to a second private workout. It's a little more serious.
Oh, okay.
And then he makes
that makes more sense.
That's a nitpick.
Yeah, no, but you know what? I agree with you on that one. That makes more sense. That would have been cool to see that, as an extra scene. They have a few good exchanges like that though. Like when he's thinking about cutting him in the last round, and he shows up to his office with the playbook and all that. And he asks him, how you doing? And he says, a few bumps and all that, but I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And then he asks him the same thing back.
And he gets the same answer.
They had this kind of understanding with each other that they could talk kind of
openly, really?
Yeah, they could be, just not more than just cordial with each other.
I feel like because they were both in situations that everyone else felt they were in over their head, and they're just doing the best they can in it.
They're just trying to tread.
like when they're coming down for the first practice, and you got the assistant coach, who for the life of me, I don't know that his name is ever said, the kind of pudgy guy, right? But he plays an important role in the movie.
He's got such a serious face.
Yeah.
Guys like this all the time.
And they're like, he's like, are you ready for this? And he's like, yeah, we're going to go out there. He's like, that's not what I mean. And it's the fans already yelling, like, you got 1 year to turn this around or you're gone, which is stereotypical, Philadelphia sports fans.
There's no such thing as a building, or anything like that.
Not at all. So that
Miami's been on it for 30 years,
right? Since Marino, right?
Yeah.
So he does go through the whole the cuts or whatever, and while he's in training camp, the players that are like mainstays on the team, a bad team, but still like they've been there a while, they don't like Vince at all.
None of the veterans.
None of the veterans like him. Yeah. They tell him like, hey man, like cool it a little bit. Why don't you just help out the guys that are actually gonna make this team? Things like that.
Oh yeah. Even the one that he rooms with,
the center,
they
down the line.
He's like, I don't like anyone, so don't worry.
Which, as a former center, like that is definitely the case sometimes.
He's rough with them, but I think that I'll admit dialogue with each other. He, like he was helping him out. Like,
what color are my knuckles?
right, exactly.
That whole conversation.
Like he was very rough about it,
Yeah.
and just kind of like in his face and everything. But he was looking out for him because he had just told him that they were thinking about cutting the center because
So that was
he had a weak side or something like that.
Yeah, he was slow off the snapper or something like that.
Right,
Is
so
how they explained it.
He mentioned it kind of nonchalantly,
Mhm.
but then he comes back by grabbing him by
Yeah,
the collar.
that was
and
his
pulling him
way.
down to
That
the
was his
ground.
way of helping him.
Right. He's tired of seeing you getting fucking
getting
trashed
killed
out there.
Yeah. So no, that was a cool little back and forth, and that ends up being in the story. I think he wins just about everybody over in real life, but in the movie, that is his first ally on the team, other than the coach, obviously.
And the center is a good ally.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. So they're playing. They're in practice, and he's kind of winning everybody over. There's, the scene after the whole "What color is my knuckles" thing. It kind of helps him in the drills, and Maxie and the other guys are like at the open practice because the Eagles and other teams they'll open up like a practice or two to fans throughout training camp and let people like see what's going on. Yeah. Not this year because of COVID, obviously, but in general, that's something that gets done. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he almost has
what's the drill called? They're doing Nutcracker, right?
Some people call it an Oklahoma drill. They do call it a Nutcracker at the time.
He gets 2 out of 3.
Gets 2 out of 3, but the guy that he's going against looks like a serial murderer.
That's I think it was German, one of their fictional characters you were telling me about. Yeah. That his last name was German, and so you're right. He looks like a serial killer. He's a fucking bull, like flaring the nostrils
he's got the
and
red
all that
beard and everything.
Yeah, and so he gets him twice, and then the third time there's just no beat in the guy. Because he's looking to fucking kill him at that point. We
were talking about this off air because Luke had the question. He's like, is this an all fictional group of players? And weirdly enough, the players they focus on are fictional. And then when they're in the game, like they play the Cowboys, you see Roger Staubach, you see Drew Pearson, Too Tall Jones. And then on the Eagles, you see Harold Carmichael, Hall of Fame wide receiver. That's probably really Bill Berge, Hall of Fame linebacker. Like,
I figure when they focus on the names on their jerseys and all that,
those
are
real
this
people.
is a big name that I'm just not caught up on.
Sure.
I'll admit I'm not great about the history.
Yeah, your 70s NFL history is a little shaky, I guess. One thing I did want to go, because I guess another thing I said is this movie is about, I'd say 90% accurate. The 10% that is Disneyed up is kind of massive. The one thing I think is worth mentioning is, because it makes my skin crawl every time, when they got the big dude in the tryout line and he goes to sing the fight song, he yells "Fight Eagles fight," and it's "Fly Eagles fly."
Oh, really? He says fight?
He says fight.
I thought it was fly.
It is fly, because you probably heard me yell it. But yeah, in a movie all about the Eagles, how do you get the fight song wrong? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
And maybe, I don't know if
I'm not even an Eagles fan, and I got that right.
Right. So that is one thing that bothers me, because it's so simple. It's not like,
Well, maybe they're just showing he's drunk or something.
I was going to say maybe it's his ignorance, and that's what they're trying to show, but that always did surprise me.
Yeah. So one of the qualms I have with the movie, I loved a lot of the movie, almost the entire thing. But one of the qualms I had with the movie was when they're facing Dallas. And so they kick off, he's running down the field, and he's seeing people get tackled left and right.
And they're not just getting tackled; they're getting absolutely obliterated.
Wasted,
that was one of my favorite things to laugh at. I know you had a point here, but I did want to, because you brought me here. The way these other special teamers are getting obliterated, how did this guy not score? Everyone should be.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because you see him getting blown out left, right, and center, and then they cut to a wide shot of the field, and it's a normal football play where people are just getting blocked normally. I'm like, I just watched people get decleated 6 times in a row, and then it happened.
Well, actually, the play after is one of my favorite parts of the movie. So I'm going to go and say, this is one of the worst parts of the movie, in my opinion, and then I'm going to follow it with one of the best. So everyone's getting hit left and right. Now, later on in the other game when they face the Giants, it's the same sort of play, kickoff. They're running down the field. People are getting hit left and right. There's a difference between the two, though. When they're facing Dallas, it sounds like car explosions are going off as they're getting hit. Like Michael Bay produced that fucking scene.
Michael Bay presents The Invincible.
Yeah, seriously. Now I understand pads hitting pads. It's very fucking, loud. but they made it. They dramatized it a lot in that scene. And then when they go to face the Giants later on, and it's kickoff and all that, people are hitting each other, and it's more like a normal sound.
A normal amount of yeah.
There's no like amplifier on each sound, so it kind of bugged me that they dramatized. I think it had to do with like, okay, they're getting their asses handed to them in the first play.
And it's the Cowboys of the '70s. On this year, they're coming off. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but like when they're running out, there's you're defending NFC champions. I think it's their final boss mode.
Titans.
And then when you play the Giants, it's more like, all right, this is a team we could maybe win.
Okay.
Is the way I'm basing it. But no, that's
like I said, when they were hitting, I'm like, dude, it sounds like car doors are slamming.
Yeah, I honestly laughed at that as I was watching it.
But then the scene or the play after, like I said, this is one of my favorite parts, and I don't know how I've never seen this on an NFL game or anything like that. But when the camera is showing him on the bench after Dick Vermeil just yelled at him saying, "I stuck my neck out for you," and
which real quick, that line gets me because again, knowing who Dick Vermeil is, actually, like he cares. Some people say too much about his players. Like there's been stories of like when he has to cut guys, they're consoling him because he hates giving up on people so much. And when he's running to the sideline, he's like, "I'm sorry, coach." And he goes, "Sorry?" He's like, "I stuck my neck out for you. You know, you start playing football or you're gone." And his voice cracks like 3 times. Because he's so hurt that he has to yell at him, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if that was on purpose. I don't know if it was on purpose,
then.
but it always gets like there's actually a really he eventually coaches the Rams later in life, and he has to cut this guy named Lawrence Phillips, who's a really talented running back, but he has a drug issue, and 3 strikes you're out, and he has to cut him, and he's getting his they're doing a report on it after it happened, and Dick Vermeil's openly crying about having to like give up on this guy. So like again, maybe it's just knowing who Dick Vermeil is, and again, maybe that was totally on accident. But his voice cracking.
Greg Grenier is a pretty good actor. So.
Yeah, that's true. But no, having to yell at him is something I don't think he wanted to do. But he was again keep in mind
first play of the game too.
Yeah, and keep in mind that they
didn't yell at anyone else who got
they played, but no one else walked up to him and said I'm sorry either. So that's probably just who he had to snap at.
True.
But they play 6 preseason games. Can you believe they used to play 6? We play 4 now, and people think that's too many.
They were 0-6 in
the
first game of the season.
So it's just chipping away at it or whatever.
Oh yeah, and the owner is up his ass constantly. But so after he yells at him, he sits down and he's going through and all that, and it just pans backwards. That they had a dolly or something set up, so they're rolling the camera backwards from him, and it shows how far down they are on the field.
Yeah,
because they're on what like 35, 40 or something like that.
Yeah, on the other side.
On the other side.
And again, the way these guys are getting impaled, I don't know how this guy doesn't just walk into the end zone.
Well, they actually do pretty much because the defense lines up and they're ready to go. And
the next play is like a 40-yard bomb touchdown.
Oh yeah, they get it in one set. But the offensive line, they do amazing. The center goes down and he's holding the ball, and the defensive line, they like jack up and then jack back down simultaneously.
Yeah.
And every fucking time I watch that, I get chills, and I'm like, shit, dude, it's like the scene from Mission Impossible 6 when Henry Cavill like reloads his biceps. I'm like, motherfucker, like I wish I saw that on live games, but the thing is they jack back down and immediately like go straight into the play.
Yeah.
And then he throws it for a touchdown, and I don't know, it's a really cool scene. Like it's for the bad guys, I guess, in a way. It's not who we're supposed to be rooting for.
And the Cowboys in football movies is like the Yankees in baseball movies. They're the perfect villain because 90% of sports fans, unless you like that team, probably hate that team.
I had to say the Patriots, personally.
I mean, when
maybe back in the 70s,
when modern sports movies get made, yes, it's going to be the Patriots. But back in the day, it was the Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
And kind of like and like now it's the Yankees, and then like it'll be the Astros now because of all the cheating that they got caught doing or whatever. But so we're about at the the Giants game, which is the end of the movie. So I want to backtrack a little bit. I want to get to
we've been all over the place,
right? But I want to get to
my bad.
Rewatching this movie, I think I mentioned already the relationship with his dad is very uneasy, and for some reason I only remembered the whole like I can only take so much failure scene, but he's in this movie a lot more than I realized.
And shows up to the bar and everything.
Shows the bar
with his old crew and whatnot, which is kind of.
And they're all just reflective. When Vince is out there, and they're all just happy for the dad, if anything, and he has the cousin, Max's cousin, that takes the other amount of hours is a nice lady from New York, and I'm trying to remember who it is that I have it written down here. I don't know if you can remember.
Elizabeth Banks.
Yes, it is Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
From like Zack and Mary Make a Porno and like a bunch of other like
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers. bunch of other good movies.
Yeah, she's an amazing actress.
For some reason, I remembered their relationship being a little forced, but as I watched it back, I believe their relationship. I thought it seemed pretty naturally.
They had good chemistry.
Yeah,
the
I think
actors
so.
actually, they did pretty good together.
But no, I love, she gets there on her first day, and Max is like, we have a serious character flaw that we have to deal with, and they're all like, I don't see no flaws here, Maxie. Like, just normal scumbag guys at the
back
bar.
up, that's my sister.
Yeah, cousin, but yeah.
Oh, cousin, yeah.
And then the first night, I don't know if it's because Max knows Vince is a good dude, but he kind of nudges them together anyway, because he's like, hey, walk my cousin home or whatever.
Out of everyone at the bar, he's the only one.
Oh, he's the only one.
He's not a bum. You know what I mean? I mean, the rest of them are bums, lovable bums.
Yeah.
If anything. But like he's got good character, and Dick Vermeil says that many times. Like he's got loads of character. He's got a good heart.
And they're she's like, no, I can walk home. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna let you, because she's wearing a Giants shirt to fuck with everybody, because she's a Giants fan from New York and everything. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna let you walk home in South Philly by yourself wearing that. No way. So
Uncle Richie that I let you do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the whole, because every movie, and like, I'm sure females have to get pissed about this too, but like, any sports movie that has a female that likes sports, there's always that I'm a female and like sports moment that you have to like, she has to overtake her sports knowledge on all the dudes that are,
But she did great with that. Like she held up her own constantly. Like,
it was like, name a giant, any giant, Sam Huff, All-American linebacker, 3 years straight, blah, 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 blah. Like, it is, those are always forced to me, but hers, like, it seemed to happen at a good time. And I think it's important to note that up until, February 4th of 2018, the Vince Papale story and that 80s run to the Super Bowl was probably the biggest, the highest point of the Eagles' history. Obviously, they went in 04 as well, but like this team was one of the more below. It was when this movie came out, it was like held in high regards for Eagle fan bases too, because it was just like to tell this story. Because I think everybody would love to know that like at 30 years old, I'm a season ticket holder for my favorite team, and I have a shot of getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, he did have some, like, it seemed like natural abilities.
Yeah.
Because again, even when he's playing the pickup games and whatnot, he's just running over everyone. One of my favorite scenes of hers though was when they went to the Giants game and she shows up in her Giants jersey naturally, and then like the crowd is just like screaming at her and all that, and all of his friends are like, she's with us. Like she's with us. And at one point, one of them even goes to like fight a guy like six.
Because he like throws popcorn at her when they score or whatever.
I told you to stop. He goes up and grabs the guy, and the actor's fucking laughing as he's like grabbing him. And I'm like, dude, come on. You've got one job as an extra. Don't laugh.
That's true. So because realistically, there's only, if you count the opening scene, there's only 3 Eagles games you see, because even the preseason is glossed over.
You only see
like the Bengals game in the beginning, you see the Cowboy game, and you see the Giants game.
That's the very end. It's in the last like 30 seconds.
The
Bengals game, and the ones that you see for the preseason, it's only like
a play here and there.
The reporter shots. And then the only 2 games that you actually, and you don't get to see the full games or anything like that. It's not like with
Friday Night Lights, where you see the whole story of the game unfold.
Yeah, you don't see an entire game, but you get to see a good amount of it. You get to see like the shit that's going on in the game. This was more like a retelling of the events that happened. Leading up to the success of the Eagles and all that. The 2 big ones are against the Cowboys and then against the Giants.
Right. So in between the Cowboys and Giants game, Vince didn't play well against Cowboys. Dick Vermeil's already on the hot seat, and he's just kind of cruising around, and he finds his buddies playing, their pickup game in the league that they're in. Yeah. And, I think it's at halftime, and one of the guys is out there, and he's Tommy, the one
he's had issues with.
Yeah,
the
game. And he says,
or the entire movie.
Yeah. He goes, I don't know how much longer the Eagles are going to need you, but I know your friends could use you right about now. And cue the rain,
right,
too, which is funny. Like, literally, he walks away, and it starts pouring.
Like, as he says that, though, I don't know, I was thinking, like, man, you've been an asshole this entire movie, and that wasn't the best comment. I don't know. It was like, I'm doing okay with the Eagles, Like,
I made
they're
the
not
team.
Doing any worse because of me.
Right, exactly. But he does get out there, and
he's just a dickhead, man.
And he does get out there, and ends up playing with the team. This game, I feel as though they win. It's just again, there's no scoreboard for any of these.
It's supposedly like the turning point of the movie. You know, like, okay, you know, I am something, I can win and all that. But I have to admit, like, it was a little too dramatized for me, you know, like all these guys in the mud, you know, playing together.
I think what it is like with all these guys, like you said, for the most part, they have like shit lives, and these games are like
the highlight
of their week,
which I
you know?
get, you know, but
and
again, it was just like the slow motion and all that shit. That's another thing. So I played a little drinking game last night when I watched it again.
Okay.
All right. So one of the rules was every time they say Papale, you know, you drink once. Every time they say Papale wrong or spell it wrong, you drink twice. Because it was like Papale and all that, or PayPal.
Ahead of its time.
Yes. And then the other one doesn't matter. It was like anytime they drink, I drink. You know, but that I just remember laughing at the scene. Kind of, it was not a bad scene, but at the time I was just like, there was so much slow motion Mark Wahlberg. If you watch the last game, especially during his winning touchdown scene and all that, it switches from the crowd to the coaches to him. And the crowd and the coaches, it's always real time, and then him, it's slow motion.
Yep.
And it goes like 4 fucking times, and I'm like, please, just put it in real time.
It's like
I don't know. That's the director.
You ever see the early Family Guy episode where Meg falls in love with Tom Tucker, and he's slow motion walking?
Yeah.
And they're like, "We need you over here, Mr. Tucker," and he's like, "I'm coming." And then you realize that he's not in slow motion; he's just been walking in slow motion. Yeah. It reminds me of that.
It just kind of bugged me because, again, I understand it was a turning point of the movie, and yes, you're right. It's like
because Tommy catches a touchdown. And you can tell, like, he actually does a great job, like, letting you know, like, oh, my God, you know. Right. And then you move to the Giants game where they bring, you know.
I think they brought Tommy along, didn't they?
It's, the whole crew has season tickets.
Sure, yeah.
And essentially, Vince's ticket is now Maxie's cousin.
I cannot remember.
I don't remember her name either.
Just Elizabeth Banks.
Janet. Janet.
Was it?
I wrote it down. But
Janet's forgettable.
So, right. So she, you know, she's at the game or whatever, and I love during the credits they managed to get a shot of them, and them being there really happened, which was cool. Like there's a scene in the credits where you catch all of them. They're sitting in the correct order from the film. Like it's pretty awesome.
Historically accurate.
Yeah.
Then. Nice.
And you know, Vince, everything comes together. He goes down on the first kick return and absolutely creams a guy. Gets the points up at the upper deck. Like it's a great moment. Yeah. And I love they're all like, he's pointing at me. No, he's pointing at me. Like he's pointing at all you guys. Like come on. And then the next play I think I love even more because he gets blocked, but he sticks his hand out and like barely trips the guy up.
It's like a shoestring tackle basically.
Yes, definitely.
Like he's getting held and pulled the entire time, and he still fucking pulls it off.
Yeah.
And they go to the other team, the Giants. He goes to pick him up, the guy who got tackled, and he's like, somebody block that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
And he really just starts picking up steam and everything. And which brings us to, at the end, he kind of knows, because of the white knuckle thing, that he's taught, the guys they're not forward, which means they're not expecting you to blitz the punt and block the punt. So he kind of shifts them into it, and he gets a beeline, and he gets right by everybody. And it's just him and the returner that's like 20 yards away. Any returner worth his salt would either fair catch it, not catch it, anything. But I'll explain how this works, how this worked in real life. Basically, he creams the guy, and what this gets me, they have time to, like, hit the ground together. He, like, looks around, stands up, gets the ball, runs it into the end zone, right?
Wrote a letter in the meantime.
Yeah, send an email.
And it's all slow motion.
In the 70s. Slow motion. They could have named this movie Slow Motion Wahlberg if they wanted.
I'm telling you, that is one of my qualms with the movie, besides the other thing I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. It's also a callback to one of the first plays of the movie when they're playing their first pickup game, because you see that before anything else football related. And during that game, they do a punt, and he is the one who takes off and is able to just
gun him down. Yeah,
fucking cream the guy.
So
it's like all the way back to the beginning.
This is the biggest fallacy of the movie, and this might take a minute to explain, but I'll do my best. Had it happened the way the movie portrays it, the guy catches the ball, he hits him, he fumbles, and he picks it up and he runs it into the end zone. That would have been a touchdown. Vince Papale never actually scored a touchdown. What happened in real life is he's getting blocked by the person, and he kind of knocks the guy blocking him into the returner as he's catching the ball. And anyone that has the movie, if you really watch it, this is what happens. That's not considered a fumble. That's considered, because he's like trying to catch it. It basically bounces off him. He never gets control of it. So it's known as a muffed punt is the term. And a muffed punt can be recovered by the other team, but it can't be advanced. So wherever you obtain possession of the ball, but it happens so fast that like the ball bounces back up to Papale in real life, and he grabs it, and he's at like the 3-yard line, and he does run into the end zone. Like when you watch the clip, he's like, yeah, whatever, and so the clip does show him recovering the ball and running into the end zone. But I actually have his book too, and he explains like we did score on the next play, but I knew what it was like to feel like I scored a touchdown, but truly the ball was down on the 2-yard line, and then we punched it on the next play.
So that was like artistic liberty where they cut it there, but they could have done another scene of them scoring it and all that
and winning.
Maybe
the
they're
game.
just trying to capture his feeling
of
it,
Because
that's interesting. They never I had no idea.
They never truly they don't even drive the point home. Like, oh my God, touchdown by Papale. Like, they don't even necessarily do that.
So they may have.
They take a little bit of liberty. Yeah.
They kind of made it look like that, but they kept it accurate.
Yeah. My other favorite, that's the biggest between that, the Fight Eagles fight, and the fact that he did go to a whole other workout. To me, that makes up about 10% of the movie. And those are big deals to take liberties with. But otherwise, again, like the people being there, I figured that romantic angle was not the case. I thought it was like, Disney'd up. But again, she's in the stands in the real life footage. So that's pretty cool. This isn't
my biggest things was the fucking Michael Bay explosion tackles, the slow motion Mark Wahlbergs.
I laughed at that so hard in that open. I'm like, these guys are getting massacred. But
I get it. It's supposed to emphasize. I understand it, but it was just like, there's definitely a huge difference in the sound quality between the tackles of them and the tackles of the Giants.
The one Easter egg thing that I found that I had never seen before until I rewatched it, which is why it's always great to rewatch these before we do these episodes. There's a scene where I think it's like 1 or 2 plays before Vince gets that play on the Giants at the end of the movie, and Vince has got his big play sheet, and there's players like looking over his shoulder, looking at what play he's going to call. And back in the 70s, the Eagles logo, which I'll probably put up here, has it's a full eagle. Like, it's a full eagle. Like, nowadays, it's just the eagle head. Like, everybody's seen it that watches the NFL, right? It used to be this big eagle with a football in its claw. Like, in this movie, that is the logo of the Eagles from, like, 70 till 1995. So this is how it looks. And in this scene, there's a extra that's a player that's wearing a headband with the modern logo on it.
Oh, God.
and I never noticed it. And here's the thing. It's not like it was there as a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because it's on and it's upside down. I'm going to have to show it to you. But, like, and it's not like if they were trying to hide it, just if you wanted to wear a headband, just flip it inside out. Like, you don't have to. I thought it was like, again.
Will you be able to include that in this? Because I got to see it.
I'll screenshot it. I'll have to screenshot it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite. That's the thing I noticed rewatching it this time. Like I said, to me, the dad having a more prominent role than I remember, and that were the things I literally like.
That's your boy.
Yeah, that's your boy. And he was such a. Again, I remembered him being a hard ass, just having that. I thought their closest moment was when he's like, it's okay, at times I've needed help too. Like, he doesn't give him shit about the rent. That's what I thought was, like, the biggest moment they had.
You're right, though. It did seem like there wasn't really much there.
Yeah.
Right? Until he became a successful football player. And then he's, like, showing up at the bar for him and everything.
But he also wasn't, like...
Oh, he
wasn't like he's like, oh, my kid turned it was nothing, because he's like, like.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm just.
He didn't think highly of him, but he didn't think highly of anybody, really.
Right. He just kind of went to work and came home each day, is what it seemed like,
And to put a bow on it, because really the theme that you explain about how like it's about what sports does for a community and society and everything.
Impact on society. Yeah.
And so prior to this, again, so 1960, the Eagles won an NFL championship, and then prior to that, there was 2 in the 40s, and that was the 3 that they had. And the dad goes on about the Steve Van Buren touchdown in 1948, the only touchdown scored in the game. And he said, you know something? That touchdown got me through 30 years.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that line. Yeah.
And it
and
really –
then later on, he sees him in the bar, and he says,
Steve Van Buren's got nothing on you.
He's got nothing on you.
And it reminds me of, like, Remember the Titans when he's like, you're a Hall of Famer in my book. It was one of those moments. But, so he – and truly, like, because people, I used to have the shirt, one before I die, Eagles fan waiting on a championship since 1960. And when the Eagles finally won Super Bowl in 2018, it's like, all right, I mean, I'm good for at least, I don't know about 30, but I'm good for at least 10.
30, yeah.
I'm good for at least 10, So, yeah.
I'm still waiting on Miami.
Right.
I'm telling you.
Well, they do have the undefeated season at least.
What they have that, but everyone's argument to me in return is, well, there was less games back then.
Yeah.
Which, yes, that's true,
Mhm.
right? But they're the only team in history, in NFL history, has gone undefeated throughout the entire season and won the Super Bowl. Now the Patriots almost did it a few years back. I forgot what year it was.
So it was 2008.
2008?
Yep.
Okay. God, that feels like yesterday.
I know, it feels like it really does.
So they had an undefeated season, but then the Giants beat them in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And although I'm not a Giants fan, I will always owe them.
Everybody was a Giants fan that year.
Oh, yeah.
Only two quarterbacks, three teams have beat the Patriots and Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Eli Manning twice, and then Nick Foles of the Eagles. Yeah. So that's the whole group.
I have to admit, I was fucking biting my nails right now because I was like, if they win this fucking game,
right.
Nowadays, no one even seems to remember that the Dolphins are the only team who has ever done that.
It was a while ago. That could be why.
Yeah, it was 72, but still, it's our claim to fame.
So what are I have a couple of notes here to round us out. So beforehand, would you have any other closing thoughts?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so you like the movie though?
Yeah,
end it with that?
I've seen it. This is, I think, my fourth time seeing it. So yeah, it's a good one. I got one other thing.
Hit me.
He takes a run for an entire day at one point.
I actually love that.
One little sweat spot
like,
on his chest. Dude, I had one class today, 45 minutes, and I don't know. I mean, the humidity is different in Florida and all that.
That's true.
But an entire shirt is soaked through. You know, I'm just like dripping.
That is actually a really powerful scene because he's about to leave for training camp. So he starts running around the neighborhood, and then he comes back home,
and it's full of. So he trashed
when he finds out his wife left him, he throws it he puts a bunch of holes in the wall.
Well, she left and he read the note.
Yeah.
And the note, which we should probably talk about because that was a big thing. He tears it up at one point.
It says you'll never make any money, you'll never amount to anything.
You'll never make a name for yourself. Yeah.
And he looks at it before every game, and prior to the Giants game, he rips it up.
And that was their winning game.
Yeah.
But when he first read it, he started just slamming furniture around in the house
into the wall, making holes in the wall.
Right. So he gets home from the run. He sees he's just like kind of leaning against the wall.
He takes like 2 steps in the house and he's like, "Why am I home?
There's
I got nothing to come home to."
Yeah.
And he closes the door and runs back out. I'm glad we thought about it now because that is a very powerful scene for sure.
But the thing is, he comes in with that.
Again, the one spot.
He comes in with the one sweat spot, right? He goes out for another however many hours. The sun is fucking setting at this point. He comes around the street again. He's got the same exact sweat spot on. And I'm like, dude, I wish that I did not sweat that much.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But that was kind of a funny moment in my opinion.
So this is just some fun fact stuff at the end. For those that don't know, other than this movie, the career of Vince Papale is a really fascinating one. Again, known for special teams. He was a special team captain for 2 of the 3 years he played. He played from 76 to 79. Would have played, sadly, it was a year too late to make the Super Bowl, but he had shoulder injuries that he ended up, not getting to play. But he was listed as
for an athlete,
He was listed as a wide receiver, even though he mostly played special teams. Would you care to guess how many career catches Vince Papale has?
Fuck if I know.
Just guess. Throw a number out there.
Dude, no, I don't do this to me.
Over, under 10.
Well, when you put it that way, I want to say under now.
1 career catch.
Oh, okay.
For 15 yards.
Wow. Really?
In the entire rest of the time, he played special teams.
They did talk about how he was a good catcher, and they showed it and all that. But then he did end up focusing almost completely on special teams. Okay, so that makes sense.
So, and then career stats over the 3 years, which is really more like 2.5 because he was injured for some of the last year, like I mentioned. 20 career tackles, 2 fumble recoveries. The fumble you see in the movie wasn't credited as one, but if you wanted to count that, that's 1 career forced fumble. He has a son that played at University of Delaware and now plays in the Canadian Football League, which is pretty cool.
Shit, really?
Yeah. So
like as of right now?
He would have played this year, but CFL did not have a season this year. But he is on a team in there. I think what was his name? I didn't put his name down. I think it's like Vinny. It's another V name. I can't remember what Vance or something. I don't know.
Vincenzo.
But I think that's gonna just about do this. I again thank you guys. If you haven't seen the movie, obviously I would watch it prior. But it's a great one. It's a great story. Again, it's amazing that you can make a great story like this about a special teams player. So thank you guys for watching. We'll be back in another couple weeks with another one. We had a couple other movies in mind, but due to the recent passing of the great Chadwick Boseman, we are moving. Our next movie that we review will be The Great 42 that he has a great performance in. The life and story of Jackie Robinson, which of course took place a good bulk of it right here in the Daytona Beach area. So that it does hit close to home for us too. So I want to thank you guys for checking out. Luke, thanks again for stopping by and drinking and reviewing. Another clink. Thank you guys for watching the Phil Talk Sports Podcast, and we'll see you next time.